What's going on, everybody? The most commonly used phrase, the term, the series of suggestions and statements that I hear so many people say all the time, over and over and over, is buy the card, not the grade. So many people say that, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. Now, let me start by saying that in a lot of cases, not every case, but in a lot of cases, when a card is a higher grade by PSA or SGC or any of the grading companies, I think that in a lot of cases, there may not be something to the naked eye that we see that under heavy magnification and when looked at closely, the grading companies do see. So I think that it is not uncommon that we feel that a card is undergraded where it is actually probably properly graded. Now, do the companies make mistakes? Of course they do. Of course they make mistakes because humans are the ones doing it. You know, we all think that we have the smartest kids in the world and we think we have the best house on the street. And we think that our cards are better than they probably actually are. That's just kind of how people are wired. We see all the goods and we overlook all the bads. And because of that, I think that we sometimes get a little bit distorted when we send cards in for grading. But I also think that there are some cards that aren't as nice as lower graded cards, at least for an average collector to look at and enjoy. Too many times, I do believe people are buying the number on the slab instead of the card itself. I think that people are buying 9s instead of 8s because it says a 9, not because they like the looks of it better than an 8. Even a 10 over an 8. There are times that you look at an 8 and, okay, I'll speak for me. There are times I look at an 8 and I go, I honestly don't see anything wrong with this card. Is there something wrong with the card? In many cases, there probably is. But those are the cards that I want to target. I want to target the cards that are in 8 holders that look to me like 9s or 10s. I want to target cards that are in 3 holders that look to me like a 6. And I've said this before. This is not the first time that I've said this. And I've gotten feedback. And one of the things that somebody said to me one time was, Greg, you are, I don't think they called me an idiot, but they're like, Greg, what are you talking about, man? What you're going to end up with is a bunch of cards that have low grades that aren't going to be worth as much as those higher grade cards in the future. And that might be true. If people continue to buy the grade instead of the card, then if I'm buying 3s that look like 5s and I'm paying over 3 prices because to me it looks better than a 3, then and people don't change the way that they're doing things, then I might come out behind. But you know what I'm more concerned with? I'm more concerned with going through the cards in my collection, looking at the cards in my collection, and enjoying the cards that I'm looking at. That's more important. Now, what happens value-wise to my cards down the road? I think most of us, whether we want to admit it or not, definitely at least care a little bit that we are buying cards that potentially could go up in value, that somebody, if we don't sell them, somebody who does sell them will be able to get good value from them. What I think is more likely to happen is I think that there is going to continue to be a trend toward the eye appeal card instead of the sharper card, the card that has the higher grade. And I think that the premium, because the premium is significant, and I'll just leave it at that. It is a significant premium, and that's part of the point of today's video. We're going to actually look at several examples of 2 cards side by side, and then we're going to look at what they sold for, and it's always because of the grade. Now, in many of these cases, you'll look at the 2 and you might say, yeah, the one on the right does look a little bit better than the one on the left. But does it look enough better for the amount of extra money it requires? That's the question. See, in economics, there's this term of opportunity cost. You can always do this with your money, but if you do this with your money, then you can't do that. So when you buy this, one of the things you're giving up is that. Now, if you buy a card for $1,000, instead of a similar card for $100, one of the things you're missing out on is that extra $900. The extra $900 that you are spending on the other card, you could have used toward other things in your collection, but you're using those resources for the other card that might be a little bit better. The examples we're going to look at here in a second, in many cases, I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference. And I know I'm going to get the feedback, Greg, without seeing the back of the card, we can't really tell. Greg, without seeing the surface of the card, we can't really tell. And I understand that's where people are going to come from. But I will also say that the average collector spends probably 95% of their time looking at the front of the card, and they're not looking at it under a microscope. They're looking at it with the naked eye. And so the overwhelming majority of the time that you're enjoying your cards and looking at your cards, it's going to be with the naked eye, the front of the card. And that's where we're going to focus. Now, another thing that I tried really hard to do is pick grades that don't have surface issues. So we're not going to see like a 2 versus a 6. And the reason it's a 2 is because there's a crease that you can't see from the picture. I tried to pick grades that are not in that there are creases and wrinkles and surface issues in the things to consider. Now, where did this all come from? Where did this all start? Now, about a week ago, I did a video where it was, 40 cards under $50 and then 10 moonshot cards. And 2 of the cards that were the moonshot cards were really, really expensive commons that were really high grades. And the amount of money that was spent on these common cards because of the grade, I thought was astronomical. And I was like, man, I can't believe we're still doing this. And people are going to say, Greg, it's all about the set registry. I don't doubt that it's probably about the set registry. But who are you collecting for? Are you collecting for you? Are you collecting for people who are looking at the set registry? I just want to kind of look at what we're actually doing when we're spending thousands of dollars on cards that are commons. So the cards that I just showed on the screen, those are cards that would otherwise not be very expensive, but are super expensive because the grades they received were 10s. Then I was talking about this with some other people, and I was saying when I did this video, I'm going to do a follow-up video. I'm going to look into this closer. And then a couple of days ago, my buddy Dylan of Double D Vintage Baseball Cards, he posted a post on his channel, and it had 2 cards. Both were 1960 Mickey Mantle All-Stars. And the cards looked very, very similar. And he scratched out the grade and the serial number, and it just had the card. And one of the cards sold for over $2,000, and one of them sold for around $200. And genuinely, when I'm looking at them, I can't tell which is the one that got the higher grade. They're both good-looking cards. People say all the time that you should buy the card, don't buy the grade. But every single day, when you look at actual recent sales, people are without a doubt spending way, way, way more money on cards that received high grades that may not look much different than cards that received much lower grades. So let's take a look at a few iconic cards. We're going to look at some big time cards, recognizable cards. Nolan Ryan rookie card, Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, Rickey Henderson rookie card, Hank Aaron rookie card, and some others. And when we look at these cards and we look at 2 cards side by side, my curiosity is, number one, do you see one card that looks way better than the other one? And then once we reveal what the grade actually is it really worth that extra amount of money that people are spending for a very similar card with a slightly higher grade? But first, let's use those couple of cards from my video last week. And let's look at what those PSA 10s sold for compared to very similar looking cards that didn't have a 10 assigned to it from PSA. Let's check it out.
All right, so first off, the Ken Holtzman. This is the card that I showed in my recent video. One of these cards is a 10, and one of them is far from a 10. And they sold for significantly different prices. Can you tell the difference? Which one would you rather have? I think one looks a little bit better than the other. And I understand this is all about the registry. But the one on the right got a 10. The one on the left got a 5. Now, both of these cards sold recently on eBay sales. And the 10 obviously sold for a lot. And a lot more than the 5. Which is kind of crazy. The amount more. So, yeah, I suppose it's a better card. And I know it's for the registry. So, the one that got the 10 sold for almost $7,000. Now, apparently there are only 2 of these that have 10s, and somebody who's trying to have a perfect registry decided it was worth almost $7,000. Now, the other card, which wins side by side, I think that the 10 looked a little nicer, not crazy nicer. That one sold for $7.50. So, the 10 sold for around $7,000. The 5 sold for around $7. Now, don't come at me and say, Greg, it's all about the... I know it's all about the registry, but the registry is all about the number on the slab. So are we actually collecting cards that look nice? Or are we collecting cards for the registry? So here are your choices. You could have the one that was on the left that received the 5 plus $6,867.50. Or you could have the other card, the one that received the 10. Now, a person who's big in the set registry would say, oh, the one that I want is unquestionably this one. But why? Just because someone at PSA assigned it a 10? Again, I'm not trying to say that either grade is wrong here. I'm not saying PSA is wrong by giving the one on the right a 10 or the one on the left a 5. What I'm trying to say is the card on the right really worth almost $6,900 more than the one on the left? So another one that was from my video was this Phillies Rookies card. Now, this Phillies Rookies card, it's a very nice card. And both of the cards on your screen were recently sold at eBay sales. One of them was sold for a lot, and one of them was sold for a lot less. So which is the better one? Well, one of them got a 10. And the one that got a 10 sold for nearly $5,000. Well, I take that back. $4,000. What was I thinking? Saying 5. $4,000. Now, on the picture above, do you know which one it was? In the picture before, it was the one on the right. The one on the left sold for $2.69. So I thought they were fairly similar looking cards, if I'm being totally honest with you. I can't really tell a difference. But because someone at PSA assigned the one on the right to be a 10, and this one's not been graded, the one on the right sold for over $4,000, and this one sold for under $3,000. So my question is, to an average card collector, would you rather have the one on the left plus over $4,000? Or would you have the one on the right? And again, I know people are screaming at me saying, Greg, you don't get it. It's about the set registry. So PSA created a set registry, and PSA is assigning grades. So they created a competition, and then they're assigning grades, which is resulting in exponentially more value to cards because of the grade that their opinion deemed. Okay, so those are the ones from recent. Let's look at some iconic cards. So we got 2 Rickey Henderson cards here. All right, we got the one on the right, the one on the left. You look at them, and my question to you is, which one would you rather have? Now, the one on the right is maybe a little darker color. The one on the left is maybe a little lighter. The one on the left is maybe a little better centered, maybe, than the one on the right. Again, maybe that's just my opinion. Well, the one on the right got a 9. And the one on the left got an 8. So somebody is saying, I want to add a Rickey Henderson card to my card collection. Don't blame you. Iconic card, great player. The one on the right that got a 9, because that was the opinion of someone at PSA, versus the one on the left, where the opinion was an 8. Well, what does that do to the value? What did these 2 cards sell for? Because again, it's just an 8 versus a 9. Well, the 9, which was the one on the right, it sold for $1,849 in a buy it now best offer. The completed sale was $1,849 for that 9, which is a little off center. Beautiful card. I'd love to have that card. But I'd also love to have the 8. And the 8 was quite a bit less, even though when side by side, they look very, very similar. Well, the 8, the one that was on the left, that sold for $225.50. Again, beautiful card. I don't blame anyone for wanting either card. Now, was PSA wrong for giving the other one a 9 and this one an 8? Not necessarily. Again, that is not the issue. I'm just saying I don't see much difference between either card. But if I had the 8, if I said, you know what, I want a Rickey Henderson card and I want this one, it's an 8, I could have an additional $1,623.50. So I could have either the 8 and $1,623.50, or I could have the one that somebody sitting at a desk down in Los Angeles decided should get a 9 instead. Now, for me personally, I would actually rather have the card on the left. I think it's centered better. I'd love to have either, but I would rather have the one on the left. And the fact that I would get $1,623.50 on top of that? I mean, think about what you could buy with that extra $1,623.50. You could buy a lot of really cool cards. Or you could have the card that got the 9. We got 2 more. Another very iconic card, the 56 Topps Mickey Mantle. All right, again, we got the card on the left, the card on the right. So you go, what one is better? Now, centering, I think, is similar. Color on the right is maybe a little better. Could be the scan. Both of them have pretty good corners. Which of those would you rather have? Well, according to PSA, the one on the left is an 8. The one on the right is it's just a 5. It's only a 5. Okay. Does that mean it's bad? No. They're both gorgeous. Again, I'd love to have either. The question is, would I rather have the 5 and the extra money I'd get to keep, or the one on the left because somebody decided it was worthy of an 8? Now, some people would say the 8, and that's fine. So the 8 sold for over $19,000. That was the one that was on the left. Sold for over $19,000. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And it's a gorgeous card. I don't blame someone for wanting it. I don't blame someone for saying, I want to have a really nice one. But to me, this 5 is a really nice one. And it sold for thousands of dollars less. Thousands. Does that card look like it should be well over $10,000 less than the other? Or should we say it the other way? Does the 8 look like we should be forking out an additional thousands and thousands of dollars? Again, not saying the grades are wrong. This card may deserve an 8. I'm just glancing at it. It looks gorgeous. So I could have that card. Again, would love to add that to my collection. I'd love to have a 56 mantle. And having an 8 would be amazing. Or I could have the one on the right that got the 5, which personally, I think I kind of prefer the one on the right. Plus, I would have over $15,000. So would you rather have the 5 and $15,224 or the one on the left? What's the difference between them? The main difference between them is someone at PSA assigned the one on the left an 8 and the one on the right a 5. Next up, we've got a Hank Aaron rookie card. One of the best cards of all time. Looks-wise, player-wise, everything about it. Amazing card. Which of these would you rather have? Greg, I can't see the back. Greg, I can't see the surface. I know, but these are all going to be in grades that are above anything that would have a wrinkle, anything that would have a crease. So the surfaces are going to be clean. None of them are going to have pen marks. Well, the one on the right got an 8. The one on the left got a 5.5. Both gorgeous. Does the one on the left deserve a 5.5? I don't know. Apparently. I don't have a huge argument with that. I don't have a huge argument that the one on the right deserves an 8. The question is the one on the right that got the 8 worth crazy money more? Well, guess what? The one on the right, the 8 sold for $40,500. Gorgeous card. I don't blame someone at all for wanting to add that beautiful Hank Aaron rookie card that PSA assigned an 8 to their collection. I would love to include it into mine. And they paid $40,500. So the 5.5, which I think is also gorgeous. Gorgeous card. $6,466. So again, we have choices. One had an 8. If we were to really inspect them, is the 8 going to be nicer than the 5.5? Probably so. But we have a couple of choices. We could have the PSA 5.5, the card in front of you on the screen, gorgeous. Plus, we could have $34,034. So those are the choices. $34,034 and this beautiful card that received a 5.5 grade assigned to it. Or we could have this other beautiful card that PSA assigned an 8. Their opinion on the one on the right was an 8. Their opinion of the one on the left was a 5.5. And they very well may be right. I lean toward the 5.5 plus $34K to spend on other cards for me. Does that make me right and someone else wrong? No, I don't think it does. All right, how about one of the other most iconic cards in the hobby. How about the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr.? We got two of them on the screen. Which one would you rather have? Both are fantastic. To be honest with you, both of these look like a 10 to me. Now, they're not both 10s. The one on the right's an 8. And the one on the left is a 10. So, would you rather have the one on the left? Well, most people would say, yes, now that you showed me it's a 10, I'd rather have it. But would you have rather had it before I showed you it was a 10? When they were side by side, would you have really cared which one you had? If cards were raw, you would have probably been okay with either one, right? Well, the one on the left that was assigned to 10 got purchased for $2,225. $2,225 for that absolutely beautiful card. And again, I'm jealous. I'd love to have it. But when I compare it to the 8, I didn't really see much difference. And the 8 sold for $73. Now remember, to grade through PSA, it's about $25 to get a card graded, unless you have the plan or whatever it is, just membership. So that means the card itself was about $50 here. So what would you rather have? Option 1, the one that has the 10 on it, which apparently is significantly better because the cost of it is 30 times more. That card is 30 times more expensive than the 8. But again, when you look at them side by side, they look pretty similar to me. And the 8 I could have, plus I could have $2,152 to go shopping for more cool cards. People are genuinely buying the numbers. People say buy the card, not the grade. But then people go out and they buy the grade, not the card. Why do we keep doing this? I mean, again, back in the raw days, those cards would have been the same exact price. They would have been the same price if they were still raw. How about a 68 Topps Nolan Ryan Jerry Kuzman rookie card? Again, two beautiful cards. I'd love to have either. Which one would you rather have? Right now, you may not know. Right now, you might say, I like the one on the left a little bit better. Are you sure? Are you sure that that's the one that you like? Well, now that we've revealed the grades, the one on the right got an 8. The one on the left, oh man, that thing's just a 6. It's crummy. It's nowhere near as good as that 8. Oh, I see it now. It is a little bit better centered top to bottom. Oh yeah, I do want that 8 on the right instead. We let the number get in our head and manipulate us. So that 8, it sold for $8,211. And again, I totally understand wanting that card. It is gorgeous. I would absolutely love to have that card in that grade. I would love to have that card. But when you look at the opportunity cost of this card, of how much more I would have to spend than the 6, which to me looks virtually identical. The 6 only sold for $1,415. Again, another gorgeous card. I understand wanting it. I want that card. I would love that one right there into my collection. $1,415 for that lowly 6. Just a 6. Man, too bad it's not that 8. Well, The person who bought the 6, he got that beautiful card, plus he was able to save himself $6,796. So he has an extra $67.96 in his account, and that's $6,796, and a gorgeous copy of the same card. Or the other option was to take the one that was assigned an 8 by somebody down at PSA headquarters. Is it really that much better? Before you saw the grade, was it that much better? Was it 5 times better? Because the cost is 5 times more. We continue to let graders control how we spend our money. Take control back. Let's get our hobby